What's going on, everybody? It's your boy D Sports. Thank y'all for whoever's joining the channel today. Thank y'all for watching this video. Today, I wanted to first, before I get this video started, I wanted to send my prayers and condolences to FSU and the families and the victims and their families. Just pray for the university and their safety. Just I'm very fortunate in a situation, as y'all know, that had taken place. So I just wanted to start off right there with that. But for again, want to get back on track. Thank y'all for joining me in this video. Today we're going to be talking about Nico Iamaleava, the now former five-star and Tennessee starting quarterback who is now in the transfer portal, but is expected, per ESPN and multiple reports, to sign and land a deal to play for the UCLA Bruins, who are in a major need at the quarterback position. But we're going to break down kind of Nico Iamaleava's situation, kind of what led to him transferring and what have you. So thank you again for joining this video. So as y'all know, Nico was a five-star recruit, right? One of the top, if not the number one or number two quarterback coming out of high school. And he ends up signing with Tennessee and obviously sat his freshman year, started last year in his sophomore year and had a pretty solid season, threw over 2,500 yards, 19 touchdowns, five interceptions. Tennessee and did lead Tennessee to the college football playoff until they were obviously beaten down by Ohio State, who really, took care of business. You know what I mean? So definitely, you could tell too just how outmatched Tennessee was from a talent and just team perspective. Um, Ohio State absolutely dominated, on both sides of the ball, and Nico definitely didn't have his best game per se. But around that time is when Nico signed an NIL deal, 4 years, that was paying him roughly $10 million. So, and he was making about $2.4 million in NIL money. But after the season, and also reportedly too to ESPN, Nico and his representative slash family, they wanted to revisit his deal and potentially get him a deal that would help him potentially make up to $4 million. But Tennessee, if you also didn't know, Tennessee had already kind of went to bat for Nico Iamaleava, who was deemed ineligible. This is according to the Paul Feinbaum of ESPN, as you know, a great sports figure there in the college football world. And they had kind of went to bat for Nico Iamaleava. When he was kind of ruled kind of academically ineligible to play football for them, but they stuck by him. They got him recruited. He was able to go there, and they got him an NIL deal for the Spire Sports Group is what the deal that Nico was playing under. And like I said, Nico had a great solid season, but was demanding more money. He demanded more money. He wanted a deal that was paying him $4 million, and he was already making $2.4 million. And after that, recently, too, about a week or two ago, he had missed the spring game. He missed practice. He held out. He was the reportedly the first holdout in the NIL era. And Tennessee was like, all right, you know what? We're done. We're cutting our ties. And then Nico obviously was on the same boat, and he entered the transfer portal and is expected to land with the UCLA Bruins, who have a glaring quarterback need. Also, there's another report too, per ESPN and other sources, that Nico Iamaleava was sort of pitching himself to go to Oregon, had reached out to Oregon. It snooped around to see if Oregon could potentially recruit him and bring him there. But Oregon, Dan Lanning, the head coach, ended up notifying Tennessee slash Josh Heupel, who's the head coach, like, hey, your quarterback around here sniffing around for a deal. And obviously Oregon, look, they're set. They have a former five-star recruit, I believe his name is Dante Moore, who's going to take over, is suspected to be their starting quarterback this year, who's a former five-star recruit. I think played at LA, started his career at USC, transferred there after USC. They were kind of losing a lot, and that's the whole situation. They've got their quarterback, who is expected to be their guy under center this coming year for Dan Lanning. So there was pretty much no, you know, leeway in him going there. And obviously UCLA, North Carolina with Bill Belichick, but recently too, as I record this video, they just landed a quarterback from South Alabama. I think his name is Gio Lopez. Left-handed, really solid quarterback. They got him on sort of a team-friendly deal too. That'll still pay him well and what have you. But Nico is expected to transfer to UCLA for a deal that is going to be less than what he's going to was making with Tennessee, 2.4 million. The expected range of that deal is expected to be about 1.75 million dollars. So still a good bit of money, but as you know, you transferring, you're going to be living in California. Them taxes in California are there's something else. So he's definitely going to be making way less. He's probably not even going to be making a million of that. When you factor in the 13% tax rate, I think the income tax rate they have. Um, so my opinion of it, because I talked about it in class. Shout out to my teacher and professor Dan Hicken, famous, radio show for 1010 Radio, and Action Sports Jacks, analyst slash broadcaster and TV host. We were talking about it in class, and the biggest thing, like I said, my opinion of it is with Nico, even with his representatives, why are you asking for more money when you're not even a bare minimum, you're a top 15, not even top 15, you're a top 20 quarterback in college football. And when you look at it too, look, Nico was solid. He had a solid year, but he wasn't elite. He wasn't among the top quarterbacks. He's not on that level like a Cam Ward or a Shador Sanders. Even you can say what you want to, guys, about Carson Beck, but Carson Beck is a much better quarterback at this point right now, and is a more experienced quarterback than Nico Iamaleava. Does Carson Beck deserve all that money that he's getting now that he went to go to Miami for? Probably not. But that's Carson Beck, who also has led Georgia to the SEC championship, and got them and led them to the college football. Also led them to two SEC championships, before obviously his departure and injury that took place. So again, Nico, he ain't on that level, and especially to like a Shador Sanders, who I talked about before. Like Nico ain't on that level, and I don't think he's that good to be asking for that much more money. Even as if you're his representatives, he's in a good, solid situation. So reportedly, too, the his representatives as his pops didn't like to how things were with the offensive line in Tennessee and the wide receiving group. Now, I would say, yeah, okay, the wide receiving group wasn't great at Tennessee, but still, Tennessee can recruit, bring guys in, and then can develop that. And the fact that Tennessee also had a really solid run game. Dylan Simpson is expected to be a top 100 draft pick, in my opinion, in the NFL draft. He'll be drafted somewhere in day 2 to day 3 in the NFL draft, who really was their go-to guy on the offensive side running the football, and then obviously played really solid defense. It's kind of an old school way, and Nico was kind of that game manager, just make enough plays to get by. But there were some plays too where Nico, you could tell he still needed some development, some growth, especially that Arkansas game where you got to throw a pass. Like they lost to Arkansas because Nico didn't even throw the ball. He just kind of ran out of bounds or didn't even throw the ball and didn't even give his guy a chance. And it was just those kind of those boneheaded plays like that. Like, dude, what are you doing? And then now he's, and even after the Ohio State game where they got absolutely beat down, you're trying to negotiate another contract or, renegotiate your deal for more money. And to sit here and ask for $4 million and you're already making 2.4. Like, what more do you need? And again, my honest take is this. I am down for players. I've been down when NIL reasserted its name back and for college players to get, their name, image, and likeness and get paid. I'm always for that. I was always for that. And I wanted players because they deserved it. They deserve to get played. Shouldn't have to, they're these such good talents where they deserve to make all this money. You see in the past where there's a bunch of really great players, but they were getting suspended due to potential, kind of, money related stuff and what have you. But now they can finally make money where, they can take care of their families. I'm all for that. But it's also too like Tennessee put it, we're going to go in a different direction. Nobody is the team, and then we're not going to let nobody put themselves over the team. And I think too that's what Nico did. He used kind of his money situation and contract and NIL and what have you, and he put himself over the team. And to me, look, yeah, you commit to a school that gives you the best chance to be at your best, who can develop you. But and also, yeah, you get your money. I'm not saying don't get your money. You get your money, you get your bag. You see players, they find the right school and they get them an NIL deal. Cool. But like, there's no point of committing to, in my opinion, to Tennessee if you're gonna sit here and it's about your pay. And now you're gonna make less in California, and then you got them taxes coming in and taking the majority of that money, and you were making 2.4 million of that. That to me, I don't like that. Maybe now you go obviously to a kind of a lesser conference with UCLA, and maybe tear things up there. Cool beans and what have you. And I wish Nico nothing but the best. I think again, he's a 5-star recruit for a reason. He's got a lot of upside, but definitely, when you look at it from just when you look at it from a player perspective, that'll definitely throw some teams off. And that could, in my opinion, too, this could be something that kind of hinders him when he becomes draft eligible, which will be next year, slash, or if he stays in school, makes more money. And then, if he can build kind of his reputation up, that could be something that teams are going to look at that, and teams are going to interview him and ask him, hey, what went on? What happened with this NIL thing? And, it's going to be interesting to see what he says about it, right? And that's another thing that you have to think about. It's not just now. It's for the future. What you want to be. You're not just playing college football to just make money. I think you're a former 5-star recruit. You weren't build your name up like that. You want to be up there. When you get ready for the NFL draft. But again, I wish Nico nothing but the best. I hope, again, if he does land with UCLA, it's the right fit for him and he can get his, kind of his mind right and get himself on track to be a really good quarterback in college football. But, Tennessee, they're going to move in different direction. And we'll see what they do moving forward at their quarterback position. And just wanted to offer my take on Nico Iamaleava. Some other news as well. I know Jalen Ramsey, my favorite player still to this day in the NFL, has request or is going to part ways with the Miami Dolphins. The Atlanta Falcons have emerged as kind of that, top favorite to potentially land him. They're among teams. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Baltimore Ravens could be an option. The name of my jersey. I said it on my story. Bring him back home, and I would love for Jalen Ramsey to come back to Jacksonville. But I think Ramsey, he wants to play for more of a contender. So at this point in his career, so we'll see that there. The NFL draft is going to be next Thursday. I can't wait. The mock draft is in the works. So I can't wait to get that out to y'all. And I'm trying to think any other news. Obviously, I dropped my NBA predictions. Make sure you go watch that video. Giving y'all my NBA predictions as well. And just want to drop some college football news for y'all, man. Hope y'all having a great day. Y'all stay safe out there. Prayers again to FSU and their families and the students and the staff, and pray for them. And y'all have a blessed one. D Sports out.